Hi, Julie.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Laura, the dietitian here. Hi, so I talked with you on the phone earlier, and I know you had just recently gotten diagnosed with celiac.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Okay. So your doctor had referred you to me. I know they gave you kind of a little brief information on what celiac was and what you should be doing to be following a gluten-free diet, but they just referred you to me just to make sure that all the little bits and pieces were kind of coming together and you really knew how to be following a gluten-free diet so you could be symptom-free. Yeah. So one of the first things I want to do is kind of just ask you, what do you know about a gluten-free diet? Do you know what grains you can eat? Do you know what grains you can't eat?
The only thing I really know is that I can eat rice and corn still, and I have to avoid wheat, but I really don't know much about celiacs at all.
Yeah. Well, that's perfect. That's good that you know that. So one of the big things about celiacs is that it truly is a food allergy. So when you ingest wheat or the grains that you're not allowed to eat into your body has an allergic reaction to them. And so we have these little almost feelers in our intestines that grab our nutrients and absorb them. And when you have celiacs, when gluten, the protein, binds to these little feelers, your body's like, I don't like this, and it attacks them. And what it ends up doing is actually attacking the little intestines itself. So the parts of our body that grab nutrients and bring them in kind of deflate and get damaged, so you're unable to really absorb the same kind of nutrients from your food. And it's also that kind of attacking of your own body that gives you the symptoms that I'm sure you've been feeling and dealing with. So really the only way to kind of cut those symptoms out is by eliminating the grains that contain gluten. So that's going to be your wheat, your barley, your rye, those kinds of things. And before we go any further, is there anything that you had questions about just right out of the gate? Is there anything that you really wanted to learn straight away?
I think I just really want to know what foods are safe and what isn't, because I still feel very unfamiliar with what is okay to eat and what isn't.
Okay, sure. And we'll totally talk in depth about that. We'll bring kind of what you're normally eating into play and talk to you about what specific changes you can make, and also broad pictures of this is okay and this is not okay. So we'll totally go over that. Right, so like you said, you can't have wheat. So most people think about wheat and they think about flour, which is mostly where you're going to find your wheat. So pastas, breads, cakes, cookies, those kinds of things are the really big wheat containing things that you need to eliminate or find a gluten-free substitute for. And then something that you also should be giving a little bit of care to are oats and oatmeal, because sometimes they're processed in a way that uses flour. So just making sure that they're really labeled as gluten-free just to be safe. And then typically people are okay cutting things that have flour out, but what kind of trips them up and what's really tricky to understand are things that just have wheat in them as almost a thickener or a binder. So these can be things like soups, gravies, sauces and marinades, things like that. And we'll talk about that a little bit further because we're going to talk about, how to look at a product and see if it's gluten-free, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit, but those are really the tricky things. And then we can talk about alcohols too, because, beer is going to be the big one that, is a big, it's going to give you symptoms, but most of the other, hard alcohols or wine is really okay, and they make a lot of good gluten-free ciders as well. So before I kind of talk to you about what you can't eat and what you need to be cutting, I really want to talk to you too about what you can eat, because there's so many good gluten-free options out there, and there's so many good products that you can still have.
Okay.
So I have this kind of handout here for you, and it goes into depth about the grains that you can have, and also on the second page, the grains that you can't have.
Okay.
So these ones here are all things that you can still eat, and feel free to incorporate them or eat them, more. So corn is still fine. Legumes like lentils or beans. Rice is a big one for people. They're making a lot of products with rice and rice flour now that are awesome. Potatoes, quinoa. Have you ever had quinoa?
I've never tried it. I've definitely heard about it.
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. We can maybe look up some quinoa recipes and look at that. Yep. And then on this page here, it just kind of, states all the things that are not allowed. The wheat, the barley, the rye. Okay. So when we had talked on the phone earlier, I had gotten like a 24-hour picture of what you're typically eating, especially at school.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to do like a really quick activity where I'm actually going to have you go through and highlight the things in your day that contains gluten, and we can work through and kind of talk about, some replacements or some other options that you feel would be like good substitutes for that.
Okay, so probably the cereal I eat in the morning, the Special K.
Yeah, great.
Definitely. And my turkey sandwich is bread, so definitely got gluten in there.
Yep.
And the snack bar in the afternoon, also Special K.
Yep.
And I think that would be it.
Yeah. Great job. Yeah. Excellent. So, yeah, you're right. The cereal. So, they're making a lot of really great gluten-free cereals, and when we talk more about reading product labels, we can also make sure that you have the ability to go into a grocery store and pick up a cereal box and say, is this gluten-free or not?
Okay.
But they have good ones like Chex, and now Cheerios is gluten-free, so there's plenty of options out there
so
for you.
that should be an easy switch.
Exactly. So, then for the turkey sandwich, could you think of something that might be a good substitute for you to, cut the gluten?
Well, they definitely make gluten-free breads, right? So I could switch
definitely.
the bread, or maybe switch to a salad or
Yeah.
soup.
Perfect. Yeah, they're making, I know Udi's has a really good line of gluten-free breads, so that's a perfect substitute. If you're switching to a salad, just making sure that the salad dressing itself, if you're buying it, is gluten-free, but both of those are perfect substitutes. And then, can you think of a substitute maybe for the snack bar in the afternoon?
I know some brands are making their snack bars gluten-free, so either something like that or just regular vegetables and fruit.
Sure, yeah, that's perfect. And then if you're kind of used to like the heartier snack bar or something, maybe a handful of nuts, that would give you the same kind of consistency that you're used to. And then I just wanted to point out one thing. So you had soy sauce with the sushi that you had for dinner, and that's one of those hidden gluten items where you wouldn't necessarily think that soy sauce had wheat in it, but it actually does. Yeah, so kind of to jump right into, our next topic of discussion, we're going to talk about things that have gluten in them that are a little bit hidden. So I have this kind of handout for you about like hidden gluten-free terms. And the big things that you want to look at when you're reading an ingredient label should be malt, caramel color, dextrin or maltodextrin, and those are the big ones.
Okay.
So because wheat is such a prevalent allergy, the way that our food is manufactured, products have to have wheat labeled in their ingredients. They have to have, a disclaimer either saying that it contains wheat or something like that. But these terms, the malt, the caramel color, the dextrin or maltodextrin, they can be more hidden since they're not food allergies. So some of the things that they might be in could be those sauces and marinades, the soy sauces, things like that. So when you're in a grocery store, you really need to be looking at the ingredient list, as well as, just kind of the product as a whole itself. Products are doing a really good job now because, gluten-free has become such a craze. They're doing a really good job of labeling what's gluten-free and what's not. So like you see here, there can be like a little product symbol that's a G in a little circle, and that just means that it's gluten-free. So you can look for that little symbol. Most products are, splashing it across the front, gluten-free, and
but some things can be unlabeled and still be gluten-free, right? As long as I read the ingredients.
Yes, exactly. And some things are naturally gluten-free and they're labeling them gluten-free. Like milk doesn't have gluten in them, but suddenly it's gluten-free. So it's all about being a savvy shopper, and
being aware of the labels.
Exactly. And you'll have some trip ups, you'll have some stumbles, but the more you shop for yourself and the more you are aware of how to read a food label, the better you'll be at it. So that's what we're really working towards, is getting you to that point. Okay. So do you have any questions for me? Do you have anything?
What about when I do stumble those first few times and I accidentally eat something if I wasn't careful about the labels? Like, what do you think I should do?
Sure. It's kind of tough. So, unfortunately, the only thing you really can do is wait it out. Depending on how much gluten you ate, it might relate to the severity of how bad you feel afterwards, but my recommendation would be to take it easy for a little bit. Make sure that everything you eat after that point is certainly gluten-free, just so that you're not compounding the problem and adding more gluten on top of it. Get yourself plenty of fluids. Just wait it out, really. Yeah.
Don't leave the house and
yes. Once again, severity of symptoms. Yes. So I think there's a lot more things that we can talk about in further meetings. So I'd love to meet with you again. We can talk about, how to eat out and how to have a social life with celiacs, because I think that's something that people feel like they need to give up, which they don't. So just to kind of summarize, we talked about the main gluten grains that you can have and the gluten grains that you can't have, some of those hidden products that you might want to double check if you're buying in the grocery store. And then, so I know you said you were keeping a daily food log just on an app on your smartphone. And so I'd love it if before the next meeting you could just continue to keep doing that, just as normal, but also to maybe jot down a few notes if you do have symptoms. And so even if you don't specifically know what's causing them, the next appointment we can come in and sit and we can go through your app and look at what you were having and look at the symptoms and the time, and we can maybe go through what might be those stumbling points for you. So at the next meeting we can discuss these kinds of things. So here's my contact information. Feel free to get in touch with me anytime in between. It was great to meet you.
Thank you so much.